Day 420 of doing a LeetCode problem every day until I get a job. All right, y'all, we're back again. Another day, another LeetCode problem where we're doing daily LeetCode problems. And today we have question number 2014, longest subsequence repeated K times. The difficulty level is hard, but don't worry because you already know we're going to keep the solution as simple and easy to understand as possible. But before we get started, y'all, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you need any new Apple AirPods, go ahead and check out that link in the description so you can get you some. Now let's see what the question says. You are given a string S of length n and an integer k. You are tasked to find the longest subsequence repeated k times in string S. A subsequence is a string that can be derived from another string by deleting some or no characters without changing the order of the remaining characters. A subsequence seek is repeated k times in the string S if seek times k is a subsequence of S where seek times k representing a string constructed by concatenating seek k times. For example, For example, the string BBA is repeated 2 times in the string BABA BCBA because the string BBA BBA constructed by concatenating BBA 2 times is the subsequence of the string BABA BCBA. Return the longest subsequence repeated k times in string. If multiple subsequences are found, return the lexicographically largest one. If there is no such subsequence, return an empty string. All right, y'all, so that can seem a little bit confusing. So let's go ahead and take a look at these examples just to make sure that we are doing this problem correctly. So in example 1, we have our input S equals let's LeetCode, K equals 2. The output is let. Explanation says there are 2 longest subsequence repeated 2 times, let and eat, ETE. Let is the lexicographically largest one. So let's go ahead and break this down one step further just in case it doesn't make all the way sense to y'all. So we start with this string right here, which is represented by this right here. Let's LeetCode. We want to find the 2 longest subsequences repeated, or we want to find the 2 longest subsequences repeated 2 times. So in this case, we have let right here and we have let right here. That is a subsequence repeated 2 times because remember, we're allowed to delete e's. So let's just copy and paste this. Or we're allowed to delete characters, right? It says, hold on, let me copy and paste this over here so I can show y'all. But it says right here, by deleting some or no characters. So we're allowed to delete characters. So if we delete this E, then we have let right there. Then we could delete these characters. We could delete this S. Then we're left with let, and we can concatenate them, which will give us 2 times. But we only need to return. We don't need to return it 2 times. We just need to return it once right here. Boom. That's how we got let. But we also, once again, we also could get ETE, right? So we could do that. We delete these right here. Boom, we delete this. We got 1 eat right there. Then we delete these right here. Boom. Now we got 2 eats again. Boom. Now, let is lexicographically larger than eat. That's why we return let, right? Because let in Unicode has a value of 108 in Unicode. Boom. And eat has a value of 101 in Unicode. So since 108 is greater than 101, that means let is the largest lexicographical subsequence that we can find. So that's why we return let. So I hope that made sense to y'all, but just in case it didn't, let's go ahead and take a look at example 2. Example 2 is a little bit easier to understand because we don't have to worry about the lexicographical stuff. So in example 2, we have the input S equals a string BB, K equals 2. The output is B. Explanation says the longest subsequence, the longest subsequence repeated 2 times is B. Now remember, it's not always, K is not always going to equal 2, but in these 3 examples, K equals 2. I don't know why they didn't give us an example where K doesn't equal 2, but that's neither here nor there. Now, as you can see, B appears twice right here, but we don't need to return both B's. We only need to return B. So that's how we got our output string B. Now let's take a look at example 3, where it gives us an example of where there are no subsequence repeated 2 times or k times. So in example 3, we have the input s equals ab, k equals 2. We return a blank string. Explanation says there is no subsequence repeated 2 times, so an empty string is returned. So as you can see in AB, we only have A appears once and B appears once, which means we have no subsequence that's repeated 2 times, right? So since we don't have a subsequence that's repeated 2 times, all we have to do is return a blank string. So I hope that makes sense to y'all. And now that we understand the question, let's get into the fun part, the actual solution. Solution is not that difficult, so let's get into it. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create an array of arrays to hold valid subsequences of each length, and it'll be up to 7. So we can declare a variable. Sorry, y'all. We come over here, we can declare a variable called results. Set that equal to an array. Open up the parentheses, and it's going to be repeating colon an array of strings. So it's going to be an array that repeats an array of strings. Then, we got to put the parentheses right here. Then we're going to say colon. We're going to say count, comma, 8. Boom. Then we could come right here. We're going to count the frequency of each character in the string. So say let freq equal s dot reduce. Open up the parentheses. We're going to say into colon. Open up the square brackets. We're going to say character. It's going to be a dictionary of character. Then we're going to say colon int, and that's going to help us keep count. Come outside the int and put 2 parentheses like that. Then we're going to come outside all of the parentheses, open up the brackets, and we are going to say dict, comma, c, n. Then we come right here, and we're going to say dict, square bracket, c, comma, default. So we're going to set the default value to 0, and we're going to say plus equals 1, which is going to keep count of each character that we see. Each time we see a character, we're going to start the count at 0, and each time we see it, we're going to count up by 1 or increment it by 1. Now we only keep characters that appear at least k times and sort them lexicographically. So to do that, we come outside. Sorry, y'all. We come outside this let. We start another let and call it valid chars for valid characters. We're going to set that equal to freq, which is the dictionary we just created, dot filter. Then we're going to open up the brackets and say $0 dot value, which is going to get all of the values in the freq dictionaries that we have seen so far. We're going to say less than, and we're going to get the ones that are less than or equal to k. Then we come underneath that, or we could just come right here. It doesn't matter. We could say dot map. Open up the brackets again. We're going to say string. Open up. This time we're going to do $0, and that's going to get all of the keys for us. So $0 dot key. Then, sorry y'all, let me see. This should be a bracket, not a parenthesis. So let's just fix that right quick. Boom. Then we could need to sort them, so we could just say dot sorted and put the parentheses like that. Now we need to initialize subsequences of length 1 with valid characters. So we're going to say results square bracket 1. We're going to set that equal to valid chars, just like that. Now we need to initialize result with the last character in the sorted valid chars, which will be the lexicographically largest. So for that, we come underneath this and we declare a variable called res and set that equal to valid chars dot last question mark and blank string. Boom. Now we need to create a helper function. So we're going to create a helper function to check if a string is repeated k times is a subsequence of S. So we're going to say if is valid, open under parentheses, underscore sub, colon, that's going to be a string. Come outside of that, it's going to return a boolean. Then we're going to open up the brackets, and we're going to say let S R equal array, open up the parentheses S. Boom. Then we're going to say let sub R equal an array, open up the parentheses, and we're going to pass in sub. Then we're going to say declare a variable called I and set that equal to 0. Declare another variable called J and set that equal to 0. And declare another variable called count and set that equal to 0 as well. Now we're going to walk through S to see how many times sub can be matched as a subsequence. So for that, we're going to use a while loop. We're going to say while I is less than SR dot count and two and signs, count is less than K. Then we open up the brackets. Boom. We say if SR square bracket I equals sub R square bracket J, then we're going to open up the brackets. We're going to increment J by saying J plus equals 1. Come underneath that, we're going to say if J equals sub R dot count. We're going to open up the brackets, and we're going to increment count one full match of sub found. So that means one full match of sub has been found. So we're going to increment count by plus equals 1. And we're going to reset J to start looking for the next match by saying J equals 0. Boom. Then we come underneath this. We come right here, still inside the while loop, and we're going to increment I by saying I plus equals 1. Sorry, y'all. Just like that. Boom. Now we need to return true if sub can appear k times as a subsequence. So we come right here outside of the while loop and we say, sorry, y'all, return k. Or excuse me, return count equals k, because remember, returning a boolean. So this equal sign is going to return if it's true or false. If count is equal to k, it'll return true. If count is not equal to k, it'll return false. Then we come right here, underneath that, right here, still in inside this. Now we're inside the main function, outside of the helper function, and we are going to say if valid chars dot is empty, we're going to open up the brackets and we're just going to return a blank string. Boom. Then we're going to try to build a valid subsequence of length 2 to 7. So we're going to say for length in 2 dot 7. We're going to open up the brackets and all subsequences of previous length. So we're going to say for prev in results square bracket length minus 1. Come outside of that, we're going to open up the brackets and we're going to try appending each valid character by, we're going to say for char in results square bracket 1. Come outside of that, open up the parentheses. We're going to form a new candidate string. So we're going to say let candidate equal prev plus char. Then we are going to say if is valid. We're going to open up the bracket. First we're going to pass in candidate. So if is valid, pass in candidate. Open up the parentheses and pass in candidate. We're going to open up the brackets and we're going to say results square bracket length. Come outside the square bracket dot append. Open up the parentheses candidate, and this is going to save it for the next round. Then we're going to come right here and update the best result by saying res equals candidate. Then all we have to do is return the longest valid subsequence that is repeated k times by coming right here, and we could say return res. Now that should be all she wrote, y'all. Let's go ahead and give it a run. Okay, we have an error. Let's see what it says. Expected separator. Let me see where we supposed to separate it at. Just a minute, y'all. Sorry about this. Oh no, is it not right there? Hold on now, y'all. If it's valid. Oh, sorry. Let me see, y'all. I'm gonna get it. Oh, sorry, this shouldn't be if. That's why I'm wondering. I'm like, what? Nah, this should be func. Func is valid. Now let's run it. Sorry about that, y'all. Had me thrown for a loop right there. Okay, we have another error though, so let's see what this one says. Let's see. Oh, spelling wrong. I don't know why they never say. Why don't they just say? I don't know. Let's run it again though. Let's see. Oh, can I find valid chars? So now, what do you mean? Oh, we gotta put an I right here. Sorry for all these typos, y'all. We're gonna get through it though. We're gonna make it work. Okay, now we can't find results, so that means I think results has an S on it. Yep, so that should do it. Now let's see. Hopefully this works and it's accepted, y'all. So let's go ahead and submit it. Make sure it's still accepted after we submit it. And look at that, y'all. 839 milliseconds beats 100% of users with Swift. So before we leave, y'all, make sure you get one more look at the code. This the top part. Boom. This like the middle part right here. This is the bottom. And with that being said, y'all, I hope y'all learned something today. And I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. See y'all then.